Grandmaster Grievous wrote a series of 3 books called Chess College. In the volume 1, it's about strategy. Volume 2 is about pawn play. And volume 3, it's about, sorry, you cannot see, yeah, technique. Now, the funny thing is this. I got this book, let me see if I can show it to you, for $5.98, but it seems the price was like $19.98 or $19.95, so $20, and I just got it for $6, and also the other I got them for a price that is similar. So often you can find this wisdom, chess wisdom, because clearly Grievous is a great grandmaster, maybe not one of the top 10, but is definitely one that you want to learn from. And in fact, inside this book, you find that he immediately gives you his wisdom with these tables that you can copy and make for yourself, and that can tell you a lot about what goes wrong in your games. So you see, you need a coach in order to improve, right? Because the coach will tell you what goes wrong. But sometimes you don't have the money, because probably, I'm sorry, that's the truth, I don't have $100 an hour to give to Grandmaster Grievous. And it's surely worth it, right? And so what I can do instead is to get a $5 book. I'm sorry, it looks cheap, but it's true. Now, the good thing is that in this book, there are all his games, so games that he has played throughout his career, and so he's telling us how the things went for real in his games, what happened, right? And so I would like to begin from game 1 that tell us from chapter 1, which is about attacking the castle king. Notice this book is made by, let me tell you how many chapters. There are obviously attacking the castle king, attacking the king castling on the same side, attacking the king castling on opposite side, the exchange sacrifice, the positional sacrifice, outpost, open file, semi-open file, and forepost. So this is the end of the book. I believe in this 110 pages, 110 pages, we can learn a lot and improve our game. So the game number 1 is Grievous against Kijelsen. It was played in Cannes 1995. Grievous is white, and so you are white, okay? Because from time to time I eventually will ask you questions. It starts with d4, knight f6, c4, c5, d5, b5, and so this b5 is the banker's gambit, bishop g5, g6, and boom, d6. Wow, that's very interesting. And in fact, here there is a diagram. Here there is a diagram in which he says that now it's black turn, and black must be very careful. It seems the best move is b takes c4, but it was played also this, and this is not good, okay, because after knight c3, white has a good game. So that's kind of interesting. We see that probably the grandmaster was playing against someone that didn't have a good opening repertoire and immediately pointed out the problem, right? Because, okay, the chapter is attacking the castle king, which means he was able to keep it in the center. Okay, let's see how it goes. B takes c4 and knight c3. Here it says white ends up in a suspect position after the overrun bishop takes f6. Yeah, obviously, if you want to attack, you want to bring all your pieces out. You don't want to exchange the pieces if you are attacking, right? So yeah, that makes sense. Knight c6, also in this case this is the black best option, and here there is a long line about what could have gone wrong in black if he played again e takes d6. So eventually, if you buy the book, $5, you will also be able to read these big comments. I'm honestly more interested in endgame and middle game comments than the opening, because the opening is generally huge. So what does white play now? He played queen d2, but he said that also e4 was a possibility. Okay, let's see after queen d2 what happens. Obviously now if you are black you don't want to play this because there will be a check, right? So if you play this and you get a check, probably you have a problem there, right? Because if you also do this, oops, and this is gone, right? So you must be very, very careful what you do in the game. So what did black play? He played bishop g7, yeah. And of course, you also don't want to release the tension, no? You are attacking. This is the opening. What do you need to do? You need to bring everybody out. Everybody. So the next move is e4. And let's see. The next move by black is h6, because at a certain point also black is able to counter-attack a little. Bishop f4 and g5. I think black is actually fighting well, honestly. Okay, I don't know, maybe our opponent was a grandmaster too, because he's playing well. And once more, bishop e3, he has to go back, right? Remember that often to capture is not a good idea, because you also have a king in the center, right? Okay, let's see what happened. After bishop e3, black played e takes d6. And here it says, up to this point, black has avoided all pitfalls, but here, driven by the desire to extinguish white's initiative, he forgot about the importance of castling, or assumed that he will be able to accomplish it soon. Well, so what should I have done? So knight g4 was wrong, queen f5. Oh, so the right move here for black was this. Wow, that's interesting. Queen a5. Well, that's strange, right? Because then it's not castling right away and not on this side. So it says the importance of castling, but let's see this line and eventually I will return back, because I'm kind of curious to see what he's saying. Bishop takes e4, knight g4, d takes e7, knight takes e3, f takes e3, and the bishop takes c3. Okay, queen takes c3, obviously. Queen takes c3 again. B takes c3. And at this point he plays knight e5. As you can see, he's not in a hurry to take this back, because the reality is that this pawn is also kind of protecting this king, right, that is behind. So you are not in a hurry to do that. Bishop d5, rook b8, knight f3, and knight d3. Sorry. King d2, bishop a6, rook a b1, and finally he takes on e7 with balanced chances. Okay, so strangely, he said he forgot about the importance of castling, but in the line that he gives, there is no castling at all. And why there is no castling at all? For a simple reason. Because you saw this h6 and g5. Well, would you really castle on that side? I don't know. It seems a little dangerous. And on the other side, you cannot castle either. So while we have to learn from Grandmaster Grievous, we must also use our own thinking, right? Because that's kind of important. If you don't use your critical thinking, you will not achieve nothing. And by the way, for example, this seems kind of a dangerous place for this knight, so this will be a problem that black has to solve. Okay, now let's go back to the position. Okay, we were in this position, and black made the mistake of playing e takes d6 instead of queen a5. Okay. And of course, after queen takes d6, yes, now he's stuck in the center. That's a fact. So, what should have played black? Try to find it out, because sometimes we think only of attacking, but in reality, we need also to think of defense, because your opponent will not always collaborate with you in his downfall. He will try to resist, right? So what do you think is the best move for black in this position? It seems that the best move is knight d4. Okay? And this gives just a slightly advantage to white. Instead, in the game, black played knight g4. Can you believe it? This is a mistake, a big mistake. Why it's a big mistake? Why it's a big mistake? Well, try to think what would you play if you were white. Okay? What would you think to play? Try to pause the video and discover it. The correct move for white is not bishop takes c5, okay? Because after bishop takes c5, black would play queen a5, and after knight e2, there would be bishop f8, and here you would lose the game, because as you can see, the queen a5 and the bishop f8 both attack that, and you cannot take this because of this rook, right? So what is the right move in this position? In this position, it seems the right move was bishop takes c4. Yeah. Obviously, black thinks, well, I destroy you because look what I do. I remove the bishop pair and I am creating some double pawns in the center, right? But the problem here, I don't know if you notice, you must always think about one thing, that when you do a move, there is generally an advantage that you give to your opponent. What do you think is the advantage here? For me, here the advantage is that this bishop is pointing on f7, and now black open the f file for white, so if he puts a rook here, it's gonna be a mess. You understand? It's gonna be a mess here. So that's what black should have thought, I think. Well, let's see what happens. Queen a5 and knight e2, knight e5, and now there is another good move by white, because as you can see, the difference between the two bishops is that this bishop, the dark square bishop, wasn't really active. So black exchanged the knight for a bishop that wasn't doing much. Instead, this bishop is actually active and very powerful. So you don't want to lose it, right? And so what do? White played bishop d5, attacking here, but obviously saving this bishop as a counter. Again, when you move, you give something to your opponent. Guess what? Knight d3 check, king d2, and now again black made a mistake. Okay, why made a mistake? Because he played knight takes b2, not the best move of all. Again, once your opponent gives you time, because that's what black did, right? He gained a pawn, but he gave you time to do what? To attack. And notice that you cannot castle, because the rule of chess says that castling is a king move, and being a king move means that the king cannot pass over a square that is controlled by the opponent. In this case, it's controlled by the queen. Okay? Okay, so he played rook h f1. Obviously, this is the problem, because you're going to get kind of checkmated, and you don't want that to happen, right? So he defended immediately with this rook f8, but obviously white continue to create active play and attack the enemy pieces. What do you think he played at this point? White played rook a b1. So here black played knight a4, because as you can see this is a pin, and so he thought that this was a good move. But again, it's white turn, and white is keeping this in the center. So he now needs to find a way to attack it, to open the lines, so he can give checkmate. And he did it with e5. Of course, you could think that it's important to take this rook, and you are not really wrong, but again, you need to understand one thing. The goal of the game is to give checkmate, not to eat pawns, not to eat the rook. You need to give checkmate. If you don't do the right moves when you have an advantage, like in this case, you have a kind of a time advantage, something that is not lasting forever. If you don't use it in that moment, you lose it. And notice that this bishop in reality is more powerful because it's ready to attack in some critical points. So if you lose it there, you have to bring it back, you have lost the game probably, or you have lost all the advantage. So here in fact there is a line. It says bishop takes a8, bishop takes e3, check. Knight takes e3, queen takes e3. So as you can see, this was the move to play, because you have blocked this bishop and you continue to keep the pressure. Keep the pressure, keep the pressure. Again, the pressure will not last forever, so you need to move very fast. And also decide which pieces are strong and which pieces are not strong, which pieces are important to save you. Okay, like for example, now black plays knight b6. That is attacking this, right? But you don't want to move this bishop, because this bishop is what is keeping the king in a very dangerous place. And so it's worth it to get rid of this at all costs, but you don't want to lose this up to the moment. Obviously you will give a checkmate, or he will have to give you so much material to save himself. So what happened is that Grivas played rook takes b6, which is a move that makes sense, because this is more than 5 points. at this point. You must also understand this. They tell you that a knight is 3 points, maybe a bishop is 3.2, then the pawn, depending if it's in the center or not, it's maybe 1.5, but in reality, what is important is what those pieces are doing in a particular moment in time, because then you decide how valuable they are. So this rook here was doing nothing, this knight here was doing damage to you, and so it was eliminated. So that's why it's a great game that Grivas is sharing with us. A takes b6, and now white needs to bring more pieces into the game to finish the opponent. How do you think he did it? Okay, he did it with knight g3. Again, tack, tack, or tack. As you can see, a checkmate here. You need to bring the pieces into the game. And notice now, black doesn't have much active pieces. I mean, they are not doing much. This is defending, this is out of the game, this seems out of the game, this is not doing much. It should take there, but then it's a problem, right? So what do? Here it says, Grivas, he put a diagram, he says, the complications have obviously ended in white's favor. In a quantitative assessment of a position, black is currently ahead in material. But in terms of a qualitative assessment, white's pieces are much better placed and directed against a specific target, the black king on e8. Okay, this game is a characteristic case where black ignore the necessity of safeguarding his king in favor of other priorities. As a result, the king has ended up surrounded by the white forces, while all of black's active pieces have left the board. Okay, so how does black continue? Black obviously plays a desperate move, which is f5. After f5, we see the en passant in action. He takes f6, rook takes f6, and rook takes f6. This, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, these rooks are really heavy. They are at least 1 pound, so I'm also doing weight training while moving the pieces, okay? Queen b4. Okay, very interesting move. Very, very interesting move. He didn't take, he preferred to play the queen b4. Knight f5. Threatening a checkmate here. Queen b2, obviously at this point black maybe is hoping to be able to give a perpetual check, but white plays king d1 and the game is over. By the way, the game is just 25 moves, so this is what is considered a miniature. What do you play now as black? Because here you have a checkmate, okay, queen e7 checkmate. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? I don't know. But it's interesting to know. What do you do here? If he makes this, I don't know. What will white play? f8 takes. King c7. Okay, watch this. Check. Maybe now we can play this. Because he cannot take, right? Again, I never use the computer, but I think it's interesting to find it by ourselves. Okay? He could go here, but I think maybe there is a discovery check and they will not like it. So I don't know, maybe here. But if he goes here, check. and he let enter. So let's go here and see what is white next move. Oh, wow. Oops. And he escaped, probably. He's kind of escaping. Trying to escape, like here. Well, it's interesting. I think Grivas could have given us a little more, but let's see. Tuck, check. Wow. Yeah, I think he should have given us the end. Maybe it's something I didn't see. And also in this case, it's interesting that I didn't see it. And I want to bring the position back to that particular moment and think for a few minutes, okay? Okay, I think I found the idea, because the point is to try to end the checks from the queen b2. So obviously if the queen takes here, there is checkmate immediately here, right? So that's not possible. What does he do here? Let's say that he tries to give check with this rook, okay? Maybe that's the important part here. So, for example, queen a1, he goes here to take away this. If he plays this, then this is gone, right? And if he plays this, again, this is gone. So what do you do? You see, at this point I think white has won, because there is a checkmate that black cannot escape. And so sometimes, yeah, obviously I was not fast enough, like probably these two players that were playing it over the board for a few hours, and they calculated that. But it's still an interesting game. And as you can see, also interesting is the fact that you need to be able to end your opponent in the correct way. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And let's see other games from the book.